again for more RPG story time.
Yep.
With me, Avital.
And me, Jason.
My game master. Yep. And husband. I mean, you know.
Yeah, that's a thing too.
Alright, so...
We figured out last week that we
jumped the gun a bit.
Yeah, we left off in a slightly wrong place.
Right.
And so we're going to correct that.
So at the end of last week, Rasha and her group of friends had gone to see the last dragon, which was Laufwir, the shadow dragon, and just found out that they had been manipulated and all sorts of things. It was really awful. My character was not in a good place.
Most of the characters weren't.
Right. But I also personally was not in a good place.
Yeah.
So.
That's
Yeah.
right.
But, I said that I went back to see my dragon, and that is incorrect. After this, we all went back to Milovich, because, well, that's where Anton tends to go back to when he's, like, escaped running away from somewhere. So...
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. That's where Anton tends to go when he's running away from somewhere. And he's, like, the main teleporter, right? So... Right, sorry. So we were back in Milovich. The Tirlon quest was done.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew, Rasha knew that she needed to go back and see Azita Haka, you know, her dragon, the dragon she was the champion of. However, she also knew that she couldn't go back without the amulet that he had given her on her most recent visit. And this was the amulet of Bahamut, who is...
Like the father god of the good dragons.
Yeah. He's also
And
the god that Azita Haka is the paladin of.
Right. And who is, by from reports of all legends, the firstborn dragons are children of Bahamut and Tiamat. That's the story.
Mm-hmm.
Is it true?
Yeah. This amulet was obviously an artifact, and it had lots of healing powers. It was really cool. I don't know if I ever really used it,
no.
but hey,
it's okay.
I had it, and that was really cool.
You could have resurrected people.
I could have, yes. I could have resurrected people, which is pretty cool. Crazy to think about, but it never came to that. This was also, Bahamut was also the one that I, with the powers that I had gained from being the dragon champion of Azita Haka. Hi, Dad. This is the like divine intervention that had done so much for me and my friends is coming like directly from Bahamut.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's the divine that, you know, that I was.
The miracle you were calling on the
Yeah.
power of
Bahamut.
Bahamut.
So I knew that I needed to get the amulet back from Celia before I went back to Azita Haka. I was like, I'm not leaving that there with her. I was like, I gave it up for the quest so that we didn't die. But I was like, in my head, I was always like, I will come back later for this. There's no way I'm not coming back later for that.
And in the past, when you guys went to Azita Haka, and he offered you different items, he did say, you know, should these end up in the hands of the evil, of the wicked, or being used for wicked,
for evil, yeah.
I will meet a punishment upon your head tenfold. Because he's not about to give some powerful items out to people who are about to go do some evil stuff with them.
Yeah.
So Rasha definitely didn't want that to stay there for very long.
Not that, like, Celia did much, right? Like, not she wasn't going to be using it. It was going to be in her hoard, but it still was... Anyways, she had to go get it. So, most of the people that had gone to see Lao with us kind of dispersed.
Mm-hmm.
But Rasha was able to talk to Ragnar and Jenya. And asked them if they would come back or go back with her, because obviously she can't get back there by herself. She can't teleport, and she is going to need help anyways, some sort of distraction or something to be able to get the amulet safely. So Anton and Jenya are still around, and Rasha asks them, "Will you help me go back and get this?" Honestly, I thought before I asked them that I might have to, like, prod Ragnar and be like, "Hey, you know I saved your life?" Even though, like, I don't think he actually did know until later than this.
Yeah, he didn't.
Which is really funny.
Know that's what did it.
Excuse me. But... But he agreed. He was like, "Oh, yeah, that makes sense. I'll help you." And with the helm that he got from Jormungand,
the Tarn helm,
his dragon, that he is the champion of. This is 3 dragon champions going back to get something from.
Because Jenya is the champion of
the Radiant Dragon.
Yep.
Shimoto. That is much easier for me to remember and say than Jormungand. I just don't know why.
Jormungandir.
Yes, exactly. That's why. Because it's a bit...
So obviously, I used a lot of the names, maybe not all of them, but a lot of the names, if anybody recognizes mythology in different places, I absolutely used the names from different creatures and things like that in mythology to represent some of the dragons. So I won't claim that I made up their name. It's me, like, kind of nodding to that mythology and recognizing its importance in storytelling and history, really, because it is a part of human history, and some of the stories we tell now are just retold, like the hero's tale. It's retold in so many movies and books and whatnot. It's a common theme and tale. So, like, why not? Let's just go for it. That's what people are used to.
So they agreed to help Rasha do this. Ragnar's the one teleporting. He hasn't been to the southern continent before, but Jenya has, and Jenya is able to... I mean, Rasha also has, but they're able to give him enough of an image of exactly where to go, which is right... So when we were at Celia's the first time, there was a little sneaky back hole, and so we teleported into that, like, kind of right before we were actually going into the lair.
Which is, like, down here.
Down, yes, it's down south. Yeah. And so it was like, okay, well, the thought was that Ragnar and Jenya would, pretty sure this was actually our plan, they would attack her as a distraction while Rasha snuck in, found the amulet, and as soon as she grabbed it, they would just teleport out of there. Because we didn't want to have to worry about dealing with this dragon any longer than we had to.
Yeah, because she's a 3-headed great worm white dragon who's also a Ravager of Tiamat. Basically a dragon barbarian who can breathe her breath weapon of cold every round. There's no escaping it.
Yeah, because since she has 3 heads, one goes,
2,
next one,
3,
etc.
1, 2, 3. So she's a very deadly thing to face. And the characters are getting to the point where they're facing deadly things and very powerful things, and as a group can potentially take it on for a period of time and get out.
Like, all right, we figured we
However-
can handle this for a few seconds.
Yeah, that's yep.
That was the thought. The funny thing is, so we get in, they start the combat as soon as we get in there. I think it's kind of a, I don't know if they got a surprise round or not, but whatever. No. Not really. They just go and they start attacking her, and this is an always raging barbarian and a monk, and they're both very high levels, and they also both are dragon champions. Jenya has specific extra things also from his dragon that he can do.
He can breathe a radiant beam, and he can
like make it stronger and
Right.
all kinds of stuff. So they start attacking, and it's one round, and they're attacking, and she's attacking them. Rasha is looking for the amulet. She finds it very quickly. Sees it very quickly, right? Another round, everyone is taking hits, except Rasha, because she's not actively engaging.
Yeah.
Everyone...
You were sneaking about, right?
I was sneaking while I was looking
that's
for
what
it,
I thought.
and then I went to grab it.
Because you move super fast.
Because I move super fast. But Jenya,
And
Ragnar, and Celia were all taking big, strong hits.
It was a massive battle. Like it wasn't
was quick,
one-sided. It was fast.
But it was very intense. So Rasha finds it. She sees it. She heads for it. Celia, because Rasha has stopped sneaking, Celia hears her, and at least one head turns. And this happens kind of simultaneously, Rasha gets to the amulet, grabs it, and is about to be like, I got it, let's go! And Ragnar and Jenya take Celia out.
Yeah.
She is dead. She is gone.
Yeah.
2 characters, 2 people just took out a firstborn dragon.
She was the weakest of all of them.
She was, but it was still just
But they legit did it because they rolled well. She was. They also, again.
They got hit a lot
They
too.
were hurt.
They were hurt.
They had some wounds. I think Jenya almost died from them. Ragnar was down a lot of health. This is one of the toughest battles.
Even though it was only a couple rounds.
Yeah, it was
maybe
moments.
2 or 3. It was just moments.
But it's this maddening, crazy, gnashing, cold-breathing creature. Yeah.
She grabs the amulet, is putting on her head. She's like, I got it, let's go! And then looks over, and Celia falls, and Rasha's just and then
should we have done that?
Rasha's just
And then
due to that tremor of, they're in this basically kind of an ice cave, everything starts shaking, and you can tell that it's not stable, and Rasha's like, go now, and just runs to both of them.
Each of them are oh, I'm gonna grab the first thing I can find. They did.
I don't know if I did. I don't actually.
Didn't.
I did
You
not.
didn't.
They grabbed. They grabbed some.
Jenya and Ragnar did.
A little bit of treasure before they got out there, and then we teleported back out.
Yep. And he went back to Milovich.
Yes, because that's where we come from.
You
so
retrieved
okay.
it, and all of you were like, "We just killed her."
We're like,
we. Is this? People are gonna be mad about this. This is not good. Are they gonna be mad about this? There was a lot of debate. Folks were like, "Oh, that's upsetting the balance," and when other characters found out, they were very much oh no, maybe something should be done to right this, maybe not. And you could have right there when you could have resurrected her, but that'd have been a murder all over again.
Could have resurrected her and left. I didn't think about that at the time. I totally did not think about that because I was just
It's
like,
fine.
we have to get out of here right now because this cave is collapsing.
But the characters have done something they never thought was possible, right? And
Uh-huh.
so as the fun side of D&D is, well, you're powerful characters, wield your might, and you can do powerful things, and they did. So I think that helped at least you guys realize just how up there you actually were, just how capable your characters really were.
It's also kind of like Rasha is a very different kind of a fighter than them. She doesn't hit that hard. She hits a lot.
Yeah, they hit hard.
They hit hard. Rasha hits multiple times, not as quite as hard. I mean, she's like
Oh yeah, so
17th
great.
level. You know, she's still gonna.
But you are
But-
for hordes of
Yes.
enemies,
That's
right?
what I'm good for.
And they're for boss monsters. And they got a boss monster.
Ooh,
Yeah, it's storming.
sorry, thunder.
It's supposed to all week.
So
Coincides with the building coming down, the ice cave collapsing, which all this treasure is in here as it's collapsing, and they're all like, no. So they grab what they can, head back to Milovich, and tell the story.
Yeah, and we tell Cyril what happened.
And Cyril's like, oh.
Wow, okay. He's like, well, I'll start sending some people down there.
Yeah, because they're like,
Because-
well, let's excavate that cave and get that horde out of there.
I hope people took some of her scales too.
I don't know. Because, well, later, something else happens later, so,
Oh, okay, well, okay. Whatever.
It's...
Anyways, Cyril's like, oh, well, at this point, it's not like there's a lot to do. So he's like, I will get some people together to send down there to start collecting the treasure because
And, as well,
why not?
it works for them because House Milovich has just gone through a big hit. They've lost their home. They're no longer in the Dragon Isles because of what's going on there. Their family are basically refugees. Cyril brought them into Milovich. So now Milovich is the home of, this city of Milovich, small city of Milovich, has grown over time. Total PC place. Is the home to the entirety of the House Milovich, which were only the Dragon Isles and now are in Nabias, as well with the oath that Anton made with Ilvania, that they're also now no longer tied to Tirlan, they're tied to Ilvania and the North, and she's the Dragon of the North as well as the Dragon of the Dreams, and so very druidy fae stuff going on there that makes them, they've lost money, they've lost, they've gained a different patron, and they're kind of it sort of works out for them to be like, well, we'll send an excavation down and maybe we can recoup some of our losses as a family and grow the city and do some good things with it. And it was a very good idea. It is, to this day, one of the better ideas anybody had. And Anton got to lead that expedition down there.
Yeah, I remember hearing that. Obviously, I wasn't there.
Yeah.
But, yeah. So, yeah, we get back. We told Cyril about that. Jinya and Ragnar both agree with that. They got some, Jinya got some platinum and some gems, and Ragnar got
An artifact.
some sort of artifact ring.
Only knew that it was an artifact because the simulacrum of Argoth, who was there in Milovich tending the tower, wasn't powerful enough to
Identify it.
yeah. It's like, well, this is magical and it's entirely out of my ballpark. I'm gonna guess this is an artifact. And it wasn't known, but that's a pretty solid guess at this point in time.
But yeah. So Ragnar then teleports all three of us to Azita Haka, and Rasha and Jenya tell Azita Haka about what happened with Celia. And Rasha wasn't entirely sure what his reaction to that particular thing would be. But he's like, okay. They weren't friends.
They were basically rival. They were the two rivals.
He's the good, like,
that follows the father.
Fire, and she's the bad, like, ice
that follows the mother. So, like, he's like, oh, well, there's not an evil in the world. It's my sister. That's fine. Maybe she's in a better place now. Good job. And you guys are kind of like, I guess, good job. Why does it not feel like a good job?
Yeah, Rasha's just kind of like, okay. And then Ragnar teleports Jenya back to Tanatoga. And
just, whoop.
Yeah. And then he kind of waits outside, essentially, while Rasha talks to Azita Haka and tells him about everything that happened, with the dragon quest and, especially with Lout and, like, how that affected her and everything. And that is the point where he is like, oh, my child. And, essentially kind of hugs her, as you can if you're a colossal dragon to a tiny human. And then they take a little nap together. And Azita Haka's like, I am going to have to go and help out my family in the Dragon Isles soon. You are a small human and you cannot fly. This is not your fight. You rest. You take a few days and you rest. Rasha's like, okay.
He's a good guy.
He is a good guy. He really is a good guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's no ulterior or anything to that character.
No, he really is a good guy. Ragnar then teleports with Rasha back to Riat.
Because Ragnar's been there before.
Yeah, Ragnar's
long
been
time
there.
ago.
He's like, oh, okay, all right. And she's like, She's like, I'm going up to the palace. She's like, I'm sure I can, get you a room. He's like, no, I'm fine.
I know a place.
Bye. See you later. And she's like, oh, okay.
Yeah, he goes and finds a harem and a place to drink and do hookah and hang out for a while.
Yeah, because he also needs a little bit of a...
He's like, I need a break and this sounds great. I'm going to hang out here and party.
So, Rasha that meets with the Sultan and tells him, maybe not as in depth of what she's been doing, but a little bit about what she's been doing. And I mean, she even, tells him about Celia, and she's like, I don't know, if this is a great thing. He's like, if it was, an evil being, then it cannot be. No, he doesn't actually say this. I'm misremembering. He said that specifically about when she destroyed that temple.
Yeah.
Right.
The Moadina. Yeah, that's what he said.
But
like,
he's just,
that's fine.
The things that, whatever she does tell him about the dragon stuff, which is probably not a lot, but she'll tell him a little bit about what she's been doing, and he's just kind of like, oh, wow. Because, yeah, he's just a guy, even though he's the Sultan of Riyadh, it's still, this is just unlike, this is outside his wheelhouse entirely, just entirely out of it, like.
Is this also, like, in between, is it after the trial or before?
This is before the trial.
That you meet you get, like, leadership
after, because
okay, it's after.
I don't
okay,
know
that's right.
Yeah.
I'm just making sure. I'm just remembering.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I don't have.
Yeah.
Pick
the
up
stuff.
Leadership.
Yep. I remember now.
Yep. So, Rasha at this point, I mean, she knows that they're getting much closer to the Ilithan invasion. I think at this point it's like less than 2 months.
Yeah.
At this point it's like less than 2 months, I believe, right?
Yeah.
And But Rasha, at the moment, doesn't have anything specifically that she has to do. And, the dragon that she's the champion of has just told her to rest. And that makes sense. Ugh, excuse me. So, she just chills in Riyadh for a few days. It's like a couple days.
Mm-hmm.
She just kind of spends time in the city, talking to people and doing whatever. I'm sure she, there are some people already that knows who she is. That know who she is and all that. But, she gets some much needed rest, which is really important because of what is about to happen next. So Rasha's been resting for a few 2 to 3 days or something, and she suddenly receives, it disappears, this sort of letter,
very fancy letter.
It's a very fancy, well written, it looks like one of those illuminated manuscripts, or it's like a scroll, and it just sort of appears next to her while she's just, I don't know, chilling in her room, and she's like, okay. She's not a magic type of person. She's kind of like, I mean, she knows weird things happen because she's been around magic a lot. She's like, huh, okay. So she, opens it up and reads it, and it
says explosive runes. No, I'm kidding.
It does not say that.
These runes are explosive. You'll die now. Ah, dang it.
Darn. It's like this. It's like a really fancy, party invitation, but instead of being an invitation to a party, it's an invitation to the trial of Treskin Volraine. Which this is a very big deal because of a lot of reasons, but for Rasha, because of how much she cares about Treskin. She knew that this was going to have to happen eventually, that he would get put on trial, because he said that he would eventually, after he dealt with things with the Drow, go
face the turmoil. Basically the wars he started from poor decisions.
Yeah. So she knew this was going to happen, and this is, your presence is requested, at the trial of Treskin, and I think I would have to guess that Rasha knows enough to tell, from, the fanciness and niceness of this piece of written media, that this came from Staniek. Also in the way that it just was delivered. She's like, someone couldn't have just sent me a message or something. It says, your presence is requested on this date on the Isle of Partagas, in the Pirate Isles. For the trial of Treskin Volraine for, crimes against this state of whatever, right? This is still, several days out, or at least a few days out. And Rasha's like, I have no idea where that is. All right. Or any way to get there. She's like, thank goodness that so many years ago, when I was talking to Gravin and said, man, I wish I had some way of communicating with people, because I just don't know how I'm ever going to communicate with any of you guys ever again. And Gravin made her what the player likes to call a cell phone, but what is essentially a stone of sending that goes to that particular Like, Rasha can send one message per day,
25 words.
25 words, to the other stone, which Graven has.
And,
Right.
And the spell allows you to return 25 words back.
Oh, yeah. So Rasha, essentially types out a little message. Graven, I got this thing about Treskin's trial. I don't have any way to get there or know where it is. Can you please help me? So he comes and gets her. Because he's cool like that. And he's like, yeah. Yeah, you should be there. So, they arrive in Partagas. It's a good amount of days before the trial, and Treskin's not there yet when they get there. And this is just an island in the Pirate Isles that's, like its own little, it's like ruled by itself, right? It's this is why it was picked to be held there, right? Because
it's independent. It is
it's a little independent from anybody. And Ragnar, asked, I think, or Treskin asked for it to be held in like a neutral location.
Mm-hmm.
And it is.
You can't get much more neutral than Partagas.
Yeah, the ruler was just like, sure, we can do this. This will bring people here, and you'll pay me for this. Yeah, okay, I can do that.
Yeah, bring people there. Pay him for it. Yep.
He's like, oh, okay, sure.
Some other stuff happens, though.
I mean, So Rasha, has a day or two to just spend on this island. And she's like, okay, this is an interesting place. A little bit of crime, but lots of there's a legendary marketplace, an artist colony. There's things to see.
Many temples.
Yeah, sure, lots of temples. One thing I don't know if I've mentioned, but anytime Rasha sees a temple of, I don't know if there's one for Hieratis here, but a temple of Hieratis, which is her friend Graven, she'll go and give them some money. If there's ever a temple of Bahamut, she goes and gives money there, because
the gods who have helped and
favored me, yeah.
There was a temple of the one true god here, and some of Asia Spentas.
She probably would have stopped in those, because honor those of her.
Mm-hmm.
Not that she doesn't particularly follow any god. She has an interesting relationship with gods, because she wasn't raised religious, and then now the experiences she's had with actual gods, and she's kind of like, yeah, they sure do exist, but they're also not untouchable beings. It's very interesting.
Right.
It's very interesting.
Right.
Yeah, I keep forgetting about this. Thank you for remembering to switch the things.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so after they're there for a couple days, they get word that the Black Princess, the Black Princess has been spotted coming into port. Which the Black Princess is Nanashi's ship, but anyone that knows them knows that Treskin will be
on that ship.
Yep. So, as soon as they hear word of that, and they are up wherever they're staying in the foreign quarters or whatever, Rasha, top speed, which is extraordinarily fast for her, top speed, runs all the way down to the docks. And she gets down, the ship has already docked, it's connected to the wharf, the gangplank is down, a couple people have already gotten off, and she gets up there, at the moment that Treskin's, right at the top of the gangplank, before he has a chance to actually leave the ship, which, she didn't do this on purpose, but the ship is still neutral ground, he hasn't been, escorted anywhere yet by the guards that were waiting for him down at the bottom of the gangplank.
Politely.
Politely.
They're politely waiting there.
They are. They're just chilling.
Like, we have to do our job.
Because she's going full speed, Rasha just tackles Truscan. This is kind of turning into a theme, but you know. She just tackles him, like, down to the deck, and is just, like, very emotional and kind of crying. And Rasha, I remember this very clearly because I was, like, about to cry myself because, you know, I get into my characters, and I was... She said, why does it have to be you? Why is it you? And Truscan just kind of chuckles and he goes, I love you too. And she like, sniffles and just like buries her head, you know, and her shoulder or whatever. It's just, I love you. And they kind of sniffle on the deck for a minute before Truscan's like, we gotta get up. I have to go down there and meet my fate, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Essentially.
Face his destiny.
Face his destiny. Oh boy.
So you also find out that there are who else is here, which there's a contingent from Surtur.
Well, but the people that are waiting for him are Truscan Volraine. Yep, that's me. They're like, come with us. And so Rasha does not leave his side, but they get escorted to it's not like a prison cell. It's a really nice quarters, but there's guards there. There's always a guard in the same room as Truscan.
Mm-hmm. He is never given privacy.
Yeah. From
this moment forward, which is important later.
Mm-hmm. But yeah.
So
we discover
while waiting, you know, others are showing up also for the trial, and this is all in relation to the diplomatic and like international nightmare that he caused.
Yes, to reiterate, if you have forgotten, he flew his airship over Surtur, and Surtur took that as a hostile action
because it is the flagship of the Erewhon air forces, basically, of their Sky Corsairs.
And so they sent
that's what it is in Erewhon.
Multiple dragon riders out to meet him.
And he did it without, like, notice. He just did it.
Yeah.
Because it was the fastest route to get to where he's going. So dragons, like you said.
Dragons and
riders.
They were attacking the ship. And he had a bunch of very large bombs.
Dwarven bombs.
And
a Ragnar.
Set them off and dropped them.
And refugees.
And, yeah, so
that he was going to go take home. Sorry, I'm not trying to interrupt you. It was just really bad.
It was very bad. So he killed all of the dragons and almost all of the riders. Only one rider survived, but then he was killed later.
Yeah.
By his daughter.
Own daughter.
Ha ha ha. Jerk.
Yep.
So everyone on the ship except for Truscan and Ragnar and Pell, gone.
The ship obliterated. Part of a mountain gone, like
there was
cut off.
Probably some, you know, orc villages living down there, just gone.
The explosion was heard like days away.
Rasha was traveling in the desert, like,
and heard a slight,
and was like, what was that? Found out later what it was, but you know,
it was a large event.
Yeah. So Surtur was trying to just declare war on Erewhon, and Erewhon
but Erewhon repelled them.
Right.
And Catalima, however, was sided with Surtur because they're old allies for things, and it became a big giant mess, and Catalima kind of got one up on Erewhon in diplomacy through that, so there was a whole giant mess that was caused through this. So, from Surtur, the Goblin King himself, Earl Shrag, the dragon riders that Truscan killed because Hieratus brought them back later.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
And
that was a whole different kerfuffle because of the way that he brought them back.
He did it on purpose like that, though.
Oh, I know he did.
Yeah.
but it was a ridiculous.
He was pulling god shenanigans, and
Yeah, so he brought the
Yeah.
dragons and the dragon riders back, but then had them all like aligned to worship him. And then when he was up like doing god stuff, the gods that they were like
Tiamat was furious
Tiamat was really
because
bad.
he stole souls from her.
So he let them go. Thank goodness.
To try to bring her to the table. I mean, it worked. It got her attention.
It did get her attention, and Treskin
And in the end,
swiped at her
yeah,
because Treskin was also involved with those particular god shenanigans
and
up
she
in
bit
the
him.
plains.
She
Yeah.
almost bit him.
She
actually.
almost bit him, and
because they didn't have any magic
He
where they were
slashed
either.
her, and several people like picked up her blood in vials.
So crazy god shenanigan stuff happened previous to this. That everyone's had their own, like, as much of a story as Rasha has had. Everyone has had their own
So much.
side and interesting interweaving stories to do things on whatever the characters sort of wanted to do and how they got to those points for what's going on in other people know things. This is where some other stuff comes up, and we're not going to get into that yet because it comes up here because they all figured out previous to this. So the Goblin King and his retinue, which is like a Earl Shrog, who's a ogre mage wizard, and those dragon riders and dragons, and orc maimed and left without a home due to Treskin's actions. A contingent from Erowyn shows up. Novana, his half sister, Sin, his half brother, and a host of Sin's shadows, including this guy named Kaufman, who was another person who played before, as well as Doran Duval, who is a lord of Elgard and is a very powerful wizard, with a host of brethren, because he attacked brethren in Merrigan.
Or at least they thought he did.
One in his retinue. It just so happened that some of the brethren died when they came to actually peacefully apprehend him and bring him back. And there was a bar fight that started, and Esteban got all stabby, and they had to get out of there. So there's a
left
whole
a shadow dagger in one of the brethren, and people knew that Treskin had shadow daggers. So they assumed it was him specifically.
or at least his group was not
it
willing
was
to
his
come
group,
peacefully.
They assumed it was specifically Treskin.
Right. So they're there. As well, from Catalima, Laut was there. Master Vito Verada, who is like a master wizard of a different tower in there. Some dragons. And their dragon riders show up. So, like, not only are the heroes there, but these many dragons descend upon Partagas. It becomes a very tense trial. Also, individuals from Nabia show up. Nikita's Mad Prophet, who Rasha had met, the one who kind of aided you with the Black Temple.
Yep, and then drank from the cup.
The Forbidden Cup.
And went, like,
insane.
Really crazy. This is the same cup that Treskin drank from and then, like, gained his
deific powers.
But the Mad Prophet is there as a representative of Nikita to watch the trial.
Yeah, watch the trial. He came here to jack him out of prison. He's like, hi, it's good to see you. Didn't tell anybody that was why that guy was there, but that guy was there was totally just to help him escape.
Yep.
Not knowing what Treskin wanted, but that's why that guy came. And then there are also members of the Shadow's Dagger Guild that were there, and that guy traveled with them, and they were there to refute their involvement in the happening in Merrigan with the Wizards Guild.
The Shadow Dagger.
Right, because
it comes from the Shadow Dagger Guild.
Right.
But they're like, that wasn't us.
Yeah, they don't want the Wizards Guild, the Brethren, or anything like that, since Dorian and whatever's part of the Wizards, like, this whole, just a giant mess has happened because of these couple things. And, yeah. And
then, for PCs, like, everybody was there, essentially. Everyone that was actively playing right now. Rasha, obviously Gravin, Nanashi, since he brought him there. Jenya was Ragnar. Ragnar was there.
Ragnar's a key witness.
Obviously, Nikolai Staniak was there. Anton was there. Was Anton and Cyril there? Or just Anton?
Just Cyril, actually.
Oh, Anton just Cyril. Anton was busy. That's right.
Yes, just Cyril.
That's right. I remember. Anton was busy. What other PCs? I'm going to talk about Alexander in a second.
Yes, he was there.
I know. What are the PCs?
I think that's...
Were there any more? Yeah. I'm trying to remember just if
Uh,
there, because if there was a piece, they were there. Duana obviously himself could not be there, but
Right.
was the beast there, or did he not? Did he send? Do you know?
I don't think that a. No, the beast was there. Yes, I think the beast was there.
Which is Duana's
Simulacrum.
simulacrum. Yeah.
Yeah, and the professor was also here.
Yeah, and the professor, and so obviously, and if Argoth was there, then his cohort was there, professor was there, Talk was there.
I don't
was
think
Argoth
Argoth was there.
Yeah, because
I don't think Houston could make it that weekend.
yeah, that's why. Yeah. So in the retinue that came off of Nanashi's ship was an individual that none of the PCs recognized. Looked like kind of like a lizard folk, almost. Sort of.
With blue scales.
But looked kind of like a dragon-y. But was wearing all of Alexander's gear. Someone got kind of mad at him, or at Nanashi, or somebody was like, what happened to Alexander? Would you give his stuff to some random dude? I forget who it was that got a bit mad. Someone did. And then once they were away from, most ever prying ears and eyes, I mean, there still was like a guard, but the guard didn't really care. He was like, no, I'm Alexander. It's me. And this is how Alexander truly looks right now. He could do something to make him look like Alexander used to, right? Mm-hmm. What had happened was on the ship, on the Black Princess, on the way there, Treskin, who with his deific things also suffers from varying forms of madness, and Treskin did crazy, chaotic things anyways, and now he's just worse. He said he wanted to thank Alexander for helping him out, or so. I don't remember why he did what he did.
Oh well, so
what?
In the war for the Dragon Isles, the war that already happened, that battle did.
Mm-hmm.
Alexander was there, and he.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
He died in that.
He killed Kraga. That's right. He killed Kraga and then got killed, but then was brought back.
Right, because he was killed by Laut.
Yeah.
Because at the end of that, Laufrey became the leader and the first in flight of the firstborn dragons. So basically the ruler of them all and inherited rule over the Dragon Isles, and so essentially the whole Dragon Quest with Tirlon ended up not working out because of what had happened in the end, and that's okay. Laut now firmly was backed by his brothers and sisters because he was the one who should lead at this point when the Illithid are coming. They're like, no, we get it.
Yeah,
it should be you. He can't. It should be you. So he was, and as his first thing, what they can do is they can be like, oh, well, I don't approve of your champion. And that's what he did. Because he was before the champion of Babaga, and he just burned Alexander to the ground with acid. Just acided him down. And Gravin took his bones and stuff and later resurrected him. Mm-hmm. And then Alexander went back to Babaga to see her one last time, and went down to the chair.
Oh yeah.
And communed with Treskin. And Laufrey was there, and Argoth was there, and there was a whole discussion of things to do with that, and that's where he was. Oh no, that's not where. That was later. That was later.
However,
wait.
He did.
Treskin just did it on the boat, didn't he?
Yes.
That's right. He just did it on the boat. My bad. That's a later thing. Sorry.
I don't know why Treskin did it, but Treskin was one of the people that had this vial of Tiamat's blood.
That's what it was. Yes.
And also has deific powers. was like, I'm gonna do something for you. Drink this.
Okay.
Alexander's like, he's like, no, drink this. So Alexander drinks this little vial of Tiamat's blood.
Which was not a good thing for him to do, except.
And then, Truskin used his godly powers.
Destiny points.
Destiny points. To, I guess, sort of perform a miracle. And turn him into, essentially, a half-dragon.
A half-blue dragon.
And, yes, it was blue because Tiamat's blood, so it could have been any of the,
chromatic dragons. And we rolled a dice, and that was the one that rolled.
So he's now a half-blue dragon, so he looks very dragony and blue.
It has all these new things he can do.
Yeah. And so...
And Laufey doesn't know that he's still alive, so that's why they're like...
and yeah, Tristan was like, this'll help.
I mean, it definitely did not look like Alexander.
Nope, it was wearing the same stuff, but it sure didn't look like Alexander.
So now that everyone's gathered, the trial begins, and the ruler, Andolfo Genovese, is the ruler of Partagas, and he begins the trial, and any of the characters, they kind of talked with him and understood nothing was being hidden from anyone, right? So what I did...
If anyone wanted to, they could talk to Lord Genovese to understand how the trial was going to work.
And what I did was base it off of how Romans would perform their trials. It's like, okay, let's look back in history and find something that is doable. I based it off of it. It's not exactly it, but it's really close to it. So there was going to be a preliminary hearing, then the full trial, and then judgment. And
there would be recesses in between.
Right.
And stuff. And
it would take place over days. And over days, more people kind of came in, and in the preliminary hearing, when Treskin was entering, he also saw his mother there, or who he thought was his mother. And some other people in the crowd that he didn't expect to see. They were just being kind of, incognito, but he recognized them. So the preliminary hearing is about appointing the judge, and legal counsel is supposed to be chosen by each of the involved parties, and they're supposed to approach Lord Genovese. So Treskin chose Nanashi to defend him. And the Goblin King, at the behest of Laut, chose the Professor to prosecute.
Who's a talker.
Yes, very good at it.
Very good talker. He was the one that talked Celia, convinced Celia that we wanted to start a religion for her, and she gave us one of her scales.
So
he's
the parties,
a talker.
He is very much a talker. The parties agreed to the issue of the trial, being that, Treskin Volrain attacked their lands unprovoked, destroyed the landscape, and taken countless lives without declaring war and without being engaged in war with Surtur. His acts were malicious, unprovoked, and as a rogue agent causing major international upheaval. And Treskin's defense was, I forget what they claimed, but I think that they didn't really claim one.
It was a bit odd. It was I don't know, something like he didn't intend...
Yeah, I think it was
that or something.
That was not the intent, and...
Something like that, I don't know.
We were just trying to fly somewhere. Kind of trying to explain their position on it.
Yeah.
How this works as well, the plaintiff lays a wager down, and that is the person who is coming to the trial with the accusation. And the wager from the Goblin King was being found guilty. The ruler of Surtur seeks to take Treskin's head and returns to Surtur with it as proof to his people that justice had been served. If found not guilty, Treskin goes free, and the Goblin King returns home empty-handed. If Treskin flees, it is the Goblin King's right to lay claim to lands in Erewhon. So both parties agree to this, and they have to agree to a judge. And Cyril ends up being the judge that they
That both parties
agree to.
somehow agree to.
Nanashi brings it up first, and the professor's like, okay, and Cyril's like,
Why?
okay.
Why would you do this to me?
And like also Cyril seeing Loud here is not happy. He's just not happy. He's not a fan of Treskin. He remembers him from the war and his chaotic war plans and like how, I mean, Cyril is a legendary commander. So he's sort of like, okay, I'll do it. And really this is one of the few times where the PCs have a lot of control over what's going to happen. But they go ahead and actually have a real trial anyway, which I found fascinating as a GM. So there's a recess for 3 days, and it's granted for both parties to find witnesses and prepare evidence. What?
Oh, I thought this might be a good time to end.
Oh, sure, that's fine. That works perfectly well. We can come back with like what actually happens in the trial. Makes perfect sense, love. Sorry. So there's a recess called after Cyril's named, and that's what they're going to go try to do.
3 days for both parties to find witnesses and prepare evidence.
Well, I guess we'll pick it up there next time.
So we're going to leave it there for now. We should be back
Next Monday. Yeah, I mean,
Might be earlier since it's a holiday for me, because July 4th is Sunday, so I get Monday off, thankfully. Thank goodness. Yeah, so we should be back next Monday. And, yeah. I keep losing my train of thought. I am,
keep going.
Yeah.
I'm just doing things.
I'll be streaming again this week on Thursday. Again.
Wow, that's...
Why is that not loading?
I don't know.
Are you too far in?
No, it does that sometimes.
Rude.
Whatever. Anyway.
Very rude.
So you'll be streaming.
Anyways, I'll be streaming again on Thursday at 6 p.m. And it's quite likely, because it's like kind of a holiday weekend and they'll have time, that I'll stream something over the weekend. I have installed Minecraft on this computer, which is his computer, which is actually a nice computer, so I might actually be able to stream Minecraft and have it actually work and not just drop frames and be slow all the time. Hopefully. So we'll see what happens. My birthday's coming up next month, and there's going to be some fun special streams planned for that, so stay tuned. And if you're watching this on YouTube, thanks for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe, and also follow me on Twitch. And thanks for coming and hanging out with us.
Take care, everybody.
Where's my mouse?
Have a good
There's
day.
my mouse.
Bye for now.
Bye.